So let me talk you through these 10 key areas, because you need to understand exactly what's going on with each one in order for the sway to make sense when you're working through the worksheet. So it begins with your universal connection. Element 1 is your universal connection. So when we're talking about that, what I'm referring to are things like things that might have happened in your past lives. It can also be things that have happened in this lifetime. So if you remember, we talked about energy reversals. Now, energy reversals can happen in all sorts of different places in our lives. And usually it's because we've had some significant or traumatic event. It doesn't have to have been massively traumatic, but it was just a situation where we didn't have a coping mechanism. We didn't know how to deal with it, and our energies got into this locked state. So it's really important that we work on any major energy reversals that might be standing in the way, because whilst you've got them, it means that it's very difficult for us to shift and change things outside of you. Now, if you're familiar with a method known as NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, we also look at things like your timeline here, different things that may have happened along your life path or along your life journey, and the way in which you experience time, where your past is, whether it's in front of you, whether it's behind you, whether it's moving from side to side. Everyone experiences time in a very different way. We also explore things that might have happened when your mum was carrying you in the womb. A phenomenal amount of things that hold us back in our lives actually happen during the time that we're pregnant. Your mum is pregnant, not we're pregnant, the time that your mum is pregnant with you. Throughout those 10 months, everything she thinks, everything she feels, everything that happens to her, everything and everyone that comes into contact with her influences your experience of life and of the world. So very often things can come up from that place too. Like I said, this is something that would normally take me a whole month to kind of talk through. But when we're talking about universal connection, we're talking about the part of ourselves that we can't see, part of us that we would call our soul, our spiritual connection, whether you talk to God or Allah or Buddha or Jesus or Mary or the universe or spirit or angels, whatever that is, that part of you that you feel is the powerful piece. It is all, everything that we are. We are all part of this one thing, but it's that piece of us that makes us magical. It's the piece of us that makes us human. But it's the part of us that's continuous and continues throughout time. So when we think about the universal connection, that's what you're going to be asking. So when you're swaying through, is my life, is my universal connection in flow, out of flow, or in resistance or in reversal? The next piece is then thoughts and beliefs. So when we're thinking about that, we're talking about the mental level of our energy. We're talking about that mental layer in our aura. And in that level, we're thinking about things like thoughts, beliefs, any patterns or habits that we might have, any traits that we might have, things that happen in our personality or parts of our personality, the good bits and the bad bits, but the parts of us that make up what we would probably refer to as our thinking or our brain. So with the thoughts and beliefs element, when you're swaying on that, that's what we're thinking. Are my thoughts, beliefs, patterns all in flow, in resistance or in reversal? Now, of course, you've got thousands of beliefs and thousands of patterns, and we're not going to be able to work through all of them right now, but that's if it's giving you a sway that there's some resistance there. That's all it means, is that there are resistant thoughts or resistant patterns that you're holding that you need to work on and let go of. So your emotional health with this is really touching back in again on what we were talking about yesterday. Where are your emotions along that scale? Are they above the line? Are they below the line? It's very easy for us to get stuck in a way of feeling. We can literally become addicted to particular emotions. If you think about emotions on a chemical level, our emotions are literally hormones. There's these little bags of chemicals running around our body, and we can become addicted to the emotion of happiness. We can also become addicted to the emotion of anger. We can also become addicted to the emotion of depression or stress or overwhelm. In the same way that we can become addicted to sugar, to alcohol, to drugs or cigarettes, all of them are chemical messages in the body, and our emotions are exactly the same. people can become addicted to a way of feeling. And so the whole purpose of the work that we do around your emotional health is to stop that from happening, to stop you from becoming chemically addicted, or to let go of the addictions we have to those emotions that hold us back, that take us out of that state of flow. Now, it doesn't mean that you're never going to feel overwhelmed or frustrated again. We actually need to be able to experience all of those emotions and flow our way through them. So don't think of your emotions as being good or bad. They're just an indicator of what you're thinking and what you're feeling right now. And now that you've got EAM, it means that you know that you need to do some work on letting go of that resistant thing. It just tells you there's something in your life right now that is out of flow and you've got some work to do. So when you're working through this, I want you to sway on, is that area of my life in flow, in resistance, or in reversal? Then, of course, we've got our physical health. Our physical health is all about our physical body, this part of us that we see as who we are. Now, when you're thinking about this isn't just your physical body, but it's also the way in which you take care of it. Are you in health? Are there parts of your body that are sick or ill or stuck or tight or diseased? Are you sleeping properly? Are you eating the right foods? Are you taking the right exercise for you? Are you drinking enough water? All of these things make up such an important part of our physical health and our physical well-being. And very often people can be on diets that aren't actually the right diet for them, or they're taking in foods that they think are healthy but are actually making them sicker. It could be that people are eating the wrong things. They're eating too much sugar and too much fat. We all know that these things aren't good for us, but hey, who doesn't love a bag of chocolate buttons every once in a while? I know I certainly do. But the truth is, like, really, how are you treating your body? This isn't to say you're never allowed a treat again, but if you're habitually treating yourself to a packet of chocolate buttons every day, is that really an inflow thing to do, or is it an out of flow thing to do? Is it treating your body in the way that it really deserves to be? Now, I know that as I've gone on my own journey from a life of once upon a time being an old school raver and being a fan of drinking and maybe taking the odd Class A drug or two, naming no names, maybe I did it at some point or another. It's been many, many years since I did. But for me, that was the only way that I could get myself to this place of feeling what I now know is alignment. Now, we can be doing that with simple things in our life every day. It could be sugar, it could be caffeine, it could be chocolate biscuits. It can be absolutely anything that we become addicted to. And what I've noticed as I've gone on my own journey of releasing resistance and getting more in flow, I've actually now got to the point where I barely drink anything. And if I do have a drink now, I really, really feel it. Not just that I'm getting old and I can't handle my drink anymore, just because my energy's got into such a high vibrational state now. Anything that brings it lower, I'm really noticing it. And it doesn't just take me out of flow for like a day, it takes me out for like 2 or 3 days. Now, the same thing happens with sugar, with drink, with caffeine, with all of those things that we're putting into our body on a day-by-day basis. So if you're noticing that you're getting out of flow, sometimes it can literally be the things that you're putting into your body on a day-by-day basis. Even that one sneaky chocolate biscuit can actually affect your energy for quite some time. Now, there's also the physical space piece. So now we're looking at your life element of who you are. Physical space is about the environment that you have around you. What does your office look like if you have an office? What's your bedroom like? What's your living room like? What's your kitchen like? What is the environment like that you're spending your time in? Is it fresh? Is it clean? Is it tidy? Have you got that mountain of washing that you know that you need to deal with? Is there a massive crack in your wall? Does all the decorating need doing? Think about that for a moment. Every time you walk into that room where that massive giant looming pile of ironing is, or where you see that crack in the wall, or you look at your sofa and think, oh my God, I hate that. Is that putting you into an inflow state or an out of flow state? It's putting you in an out of flow state. So what you see and what you have around you in your environment is so important. If you've got clutter around you everywhere, it doesn't allow you to think and feel clearly. It makes you feel overwhelmed. It makes you feel cluttered. So in order to create an inflow space, your space needs to be clean. Now, you can also use this physical space to manifest the house that you really, truly want. Now, I think probably one of my biggest physical manifestations was actually, we've got another business, which is actually my partner's business that we started because he always wanted to get into doing property development. Now, just to put this in context, when we started, we had no money. We didn't have £100 million sitting under the sofa waiting to just invest in property. I did exactly what I would tell everybody to do. We went out to go and learn from someone who knew what they were doing. So we invested in working with an amazing, amazing mentor to help us with this property journey. Now, yes, we had a little bit of a bonus in that my other half's been working in construction for a number of years, but we'd never done property development. It was always the thing that he wanted to do for himself. Now, the reason I'm saying this is a manifestation is because, bearing in mind, we were brand new at this. We didn't begin with renovating, a little 2 up, 2 down and putting a new kitchen and bathroom in. We kind of went in for the big thing. So starting from a zero standing start, we ended up buying a 12,500 square foot building, which was previously a college. And when we first went to put an offer in on the building, we lost out by £500,000. Someone else put an offer in that was £500,000 in excess of what we were offering. Now, just to be clear, I didn't have that money sat underneath my sofa. We had to go out and find an investor, somebody that was prepared to put the money into this project and to finance the whole thing. I didn't have that person just randomly sat in my back pocket or hidden under the settee at the time. But when we put an offer in, we ended up losing out. And I was devastated because I had been EAMing the pants off of this. I was like, this is our building. I'm ready to align. I was so certain that this was ours. And we lost out by £500,000. About 4 months went by and we'd been looking at some other deals and looking at some other properties, and I got a phone call from the estate agent. Yvette, do you think you still would like to buy Preston Road? And I was like, yes. Do you think you can complete in the next week? No. How on earth are we going to make that happen? So literally we had 4 days to find a new investor, to rustle up the money that we didn't know we were going to be bringing together, and to buy this building, because the previous people that were buying it ended up having to pull out. So the good news is my sway was right. It was going to be our building, and we did successfully buy this beautiful, amazing building. Now, this is going to generate for us in the next 12 months, £10.2 million turnover on our first property deal. Now, the reason I'm saying that as a manifestation is because we had to put no money into this. There is no way in a million years that we should have been the people buying this building. There were 16 people put an offer in on this, and we were 8th on the list. Now, all logical, sensible things would have said that there was no way in the world that we would have been that person, because 7 other people had put in higher offers than us. Now, I don't care how it happened. I don't know what happened to make it happen, but I have to say I am so thrilled that it has, because it really is life-changing for us. Now, you're probably thinking, well, why, Yvette, are you doing property development and EAM? For me, this is actually my way of taking EAM out into the world. The money that we'll make from this means that I can put this into EAM and we can take it out into in a much bigger way to help change more people's lives. And that's one of the reasons why we're doing this research study right now, so that we're ready, so that when we've got the money to put into it, we can invest it into taking this out and start taking it into places like schools and the NHS and offering more training to people so that we can start changing more people's lives. So I'm thrilled that this has happened, and I'm loving that my other half is actually starting to live his vision and his passion as well. It's really, really exciting. So I want to share it with you because Yes, it's cool. Yes, it's nice. But the only reason that that happened is because everything that I share with you is what I live. I was absolutely pooping my pants about asking somebody to put the money in to do that. You don't just walk up to somebody and say, oh, by the way, could you do this? I had to do an awful lot of EAM, releasing the resistance, what was happening in my energy, letting go of the limiting beliefs, getting myself into a place of feeling and believing that it was possible for us to do this. And now it's happening in lots of different ways too. But this was just the beginning of the journey. And you can do exactly the same thing. I'm not suggesting you will go out and become a property developer, but by using EAM, you can use it to let go of the things that are standing in the way of you really changing your life. And that's what I want for this for you. So moving on to the next step, relationships. This element in itself definitely takes a month, and I could spend a whole year working with you on the relationship stuff. Relationships are one of the biggest things that take us out of flow because we are dealing with somebody else and their own energy. Wouldn't it just be easier if everyone in our life behaved the way exactly that we wanted them to, and they did everything we said, and they didn't pee us off, and they didn't upset us, and they didn't frustrate us? How much easier would our lives be? Now, unfortunately, that isn't always the case because we're all living with other people and they all have their own thoughts, their own beliefs, their own experiences too. And it's this weird, crazy mess that ends up creating what we call our relationships and our interactions with other people. So when we're talking about relationships, and when you're swaying on this today for your exercise, we're talking about relationships from your past, from your present, and also for those of you who may want to be manifesting new friendships or new partnerships or new relationships with other people, people that you might want to manifest in the future. Now, it's a huge, great big subject when we talk about relationships, but the biggest thing to really understand here is something that we talk about as being the energy triangle. This is based on a piece of work from Dr. Karpman Dharma Triangle, it's called. And it's something from transactional analysis, where we talk about someone being the victim, the persecutor, or the rescuer. In EAM, we talk about them as being the pusher, the puller, or the protector. Now, the reason I'm sharing this with you now is because all of us usually are operating in one of those three places of the pusher, the puller, or the protector. And in our relationships, it's the energy that goes into the way that we communicate, how we are, how we behave, what we think, what we say to other people, or what we expect back from others. And it's always one of these three energy dynamics that is at play. Now, the bad news is all three of those energy dynamics are out of flow states to be in. Not one of them is coming from an empowered place. So if you think about most soap operas or most dramas or most film plots, all of them are based on that dynamic of there being a baddie, of there being someone who's the victim and someone who is the rescuer or the hero. And everything we've ever have demonstrated to us in our lives is based on relationships within this drama triangle. And that's the reason why they mess with our minds so much, because all of them, all three of those positions don't feel good. They all feel like you're being pushed, like you're being cajoled, like they're hard work. And that's because all three of them are out of flow states to be in. The way to step outside of that drama triangle and stop being pushed and pulled around by other people in our lives is to take complete, total, utter responsibility for ourselves, for our energy, what we think and how we feel. Now, when we start doing this, it's obviously usually one of the most difficult things for people in our lives to get their head around, because we start communicating differently. We stop playing into the drama of whatever that situation is, and it really messes with people's mind. However, what it does for you is puts you back into your flow state. It stops screwing with your mind, and it enables you to take back your own personal power and control for what's going on in your life, rather than reacting and responding to everybody else around you. It is so much fun, I promise. It might be hard work, there are tears involved sometimes, but it is so empowering to get your own energy back. So when you're swaying on this today, like I said, remember that's like a whole month. Normally it takes me to talk people through this, but What we're talking about is your relationships, and that can be relationships you've had before, as well as people in your life now, as well as people that you're wanting to bring into your life in the future. So if it says that you've got resistance or you're out of flow in reversal with it, then just understand that it could be talking about any one of those spaces. Next, we've got your ideal lifestyle. Are you having fun? Are you reading books? Are you meditating? Are you going out for a run? Are you learning something new? Are you going on holidays? Are you experiencing things that take you outside of your comfort zone, that aren't just at home, get up, go to work, eat, sleep, repeat? Are you doing something that inspires you? Are you allowing yourself to grow on a spiritual, mental, emotional, and personal level, to explore more things in the world, to go out and do all of those things that you promise yourself you'll do when you're rich? This is about doing all of them before, because they invoke a state of fun. And fun is one of the most important pieces of manifesting. And especially if you want to move on to manifesting money, which is element 8. Now, there is a very, very specific reason why I don't teach people how to manifest more money with the law of attraction. And the reason is there are 7 other areas of your life that you need to sort out and to get in flow before the money will come. Now, that's not to say that you can't start using EAM to get yourself in flow around money. But usually the resistance that people are experiencing around money is nothing to do with money. It's nothing to do with money. It's usually something to do with how they think, with how they feel. They think that they're going to be able to do something more with their physical health. They think it's going to somehow magically change their relationships, or they think they're going to be able to buy the house that they want or live the lifestyle that they want. So usually the reason that someone wants the money is nothing to do with having the money. It's what they think the money is going to bring them. And usually what people think the money is going to bring them isn't that we actually want the house, the car, or the relationship. It's that we actually want the emotion, the feeling that we think the money or that situation is going to bring us. The irony being, in order to manifest the money, you have to feel the feelings that you want anyway. And now that you've got EAM, you know how to do that. So manifesting money is just like anything else. Money is just an energy. The more resistance you let go of in all of the other areas of your life, the more money, wealth, and abundance will start to flow to you. Now, I am not one of these people who believes that if you're spiritual, you shouldn't have money. I am going to say this with love. That is utter bollocks. Mother Teresa was one of the best people at raising money, at raising finance, and getting money into her life so that she could go and make the impact that she wanted to do in the world. I believe that in order for us to go out there and make a massive impact in the world, you need to be able to manage money, because it is energy. That's all it is. It's energy. And it's a transaction that needs to take place between you and other people in order for that energy to change and take place. So, manifesting money is spiritual. Having money in your life is spiritual. If you want to make a difference in other people's lives, if you want to go out there and change the world, I don't care who you are, I don't care where you're going, you need to have money in your life in order for you to go out there and do that. Yes, you can go and borrow money from other people, but you've still got to be in flow with money in order to bring it into your life in the first place. So please know that I say that with love to everybody that's out there who believes that having money is not spiritual, but I know that there is another way, and you can manifest in your money in your life and still be really spiritual. Really spiritual. If any of that stuff is coming up for you, if this is poking any of your buttons, then I really do invite you to use EAM and work through the beliefs that are coming up around this, because it is all just a belief around money. Now, I think you're going to love what we're doing on day 5. I am going to introduce you to some ways to work with money. I'm going to share with you the 88 most common money beliefs and patterns that are standing in people's way, so that you can use EAM to release them and let them go. Because whilst you hold them, you're not going to be able to draw that money into your life anyway. So there are 2 more really important pieces of the puzzle. If you think about how much time in our life do we spend at work, just think about your day. On average, most people spend 8 hours of their day at work. Most people get up in the morning, get dressed, and even if you're not at work, you're getting ready for work, you're going into work, you're coming home from work. There's probably a good 10 hours of your day if you're working at an office or somewhere outside of your home. And if you're working for yourself, we all know that you never actually really switch off. Everyone thinks that it's just this magical lifestyle where you just get up and go to work. But the truth is you probably end up working more hours than you did if you were working for someone else. But the reason I say that is because if we're spending that much of our life at work, surely we need to make sure that we're loving what we do. Surely it's got to be following our passion and our purpose in life and working with people we love. Otherwise, we're spending nearly a third of our life in a place that we hate, doing work that we don't love with people we don't want to be with. How miserable is that going to make people feel? Now, I'm sure we've all had a job in our past at some point that maybe you might regret a little bit, or you think, oh God, I know that I only did that just to make money or just to make ends meet. But the truth is, if we continue living our lives in that way, we are going to end up in a place of feeling stressed, overwhelmed, anxious, frustrated, depressed, because we aren't connected to ourselves. We aren't connected to our passion. We aren't living our purpose. For every single human being, I believe that we need to be living our purpose and our passion because it is the thing that will carry us through. It's not the most important part of our lives. Obviously, friends and family and love and connection are. But if you're spending a third of your life doing it, surely you want to enjoy a third of your waking life doing something that's really important to you. So understanding your passion, your purpose, and the people that you want to work with. Now, it doesn't mean that you need to go and set up your own business. You could be living your passion and purpose working for someone else, and that's awesome. But it's just about making sure that you bring all of who you are, all elements of what makes you you. Very often people talk about their purpose or their passion being the work that they do. But actually, your purpose is very often more about who you are. It's something that's woven through the thread of everything you've ever done throughout your life. You'll probably find that you've been living your purpose and your passion since you were tiny. I know for me, I've always been about making a difference. If I saw something, even when I was at school, that wasn't right, that I didn't like, not that I didn't like as in, school dinners, but I mean something that just wasn't just, that wasn't right. It was always inside of me to be the person that would go and make the change. I would go and do something about it. And when I now look back, actually at what's been the thread throughout my life, every job I've had has been about making a difference in some way, shape or form. It's been about changing people's lives, their work. It might have even when I was doing the marketing work, it was still about making a difference to their business or making a difference to the message they had, changing from where somebody was to where they want to be. Now, I don't know what that is for you, but very often you'll find that it's something that you do even when you're not at work. Your true passion and purpose is something, it's just who you are. And it's the thing that is so easy for you that it seems like it's your magic gift. And to other people, it's a real stress or real struggle. They just aren't able to do that. So I would love to help you find your passion and your purpose. Very often, if we try to discover our passion and purpose from just up here, we end up going off in the wrong direction. Lovely Joe's one of our EAM mentors. You'll see her here inside the Facebook group. And Jo and I started working together, and originally she thought that her passion and her purpose was to work with ladies who were 40 plus, who'd gone through some changes in life. Perhaps they had lost their confidence, their children had grown up and left home. And we were trying to figure out if this was really the right thing for her. It didn't feel quite right. It wasn't really the right thing. Something about it just felt off. until we started doing the work on her passion and her purpose. Now, one of the exercises that I take people through with this is what we call your soulful story. The journey that you've been through, the transformational point in your life when everything sort of turned around, or when you had your wake-up call. Now, I know for many of us, we've probably had more than one. But for Jo, it was actually a time when she lost a child. She was pregnant, and sadly, she lost her little baby. She was quite far through through her pregnancy and had to give birth. And as I'm sure you can imagine, was a really massively stressful and traumatic time for her. But that was actually the time that she found complementary therapy. And she started to learn and to study and understand all of these different things that you can do to change the way that you think and change the way that you feel. Now, I can't really explain how the magic happened other than we were using EAM and using the sway to help get this clarity. But all of a sudden, it just became so crystal clear to both of us that actually the work that Jo was meant to be doing was working with people who are struggling to fall pregnant, who have lost children during pregnancy. Because so many mums and dads go through this experience and it almost feels like it gets brushed under the carpet, or that it just gets ignored. Now, if you think back to what we know about our head, our heart and our hara, all of those mums that have been through that have got some energetic shock going on in their hara energy. And unless or until that is resolved, people are going to find it really difficult to fall pregnant again. Maybe they're continually carrying this forward. Maybe they've had other children. But so many mums and dads go through these experiences and are never able to work through releasing any of that stuff. So for Jo, now she is successfully working with so many clients. She's worked with lots of people, lots of mums who are trying to fall pregnant, to work with them on an energetic basis to release the stuff that's standing in their way. And she's even had a few people successfully falling pregnant with it too, which is really cool. But it all comes down to really living your passion and your purpose. And now she gets to spend all of her time doing something meaningful that is really making a difference. Now, passion and purpose and making an impact are very similar, but making an impact is actually about you going out in the world and making your difference. This is the external version of your passion and purpose. This is how you're going to do it. Passion and purpose is understanding who it is and what really drives you. Making your impact is how you're going to do it. This is much more where we're talking about your work, or if you work for yourself or want to work for yourself, how to use EAM in your business. Now, again, this is huge and something that takes a long, long time for me to really work through teaching you. But this is about working in a soulful way, building a work and life balance that is really a reflection of who you are, building a business or a work life that is a reflection of who you are, your passion, your purpose, and the work you're meant to be doing in the world. I believe that everyone is here to make their difference. Now, it doesn't mean that you all have to be a coach or you all have to be a mentor. Everybody makes their difference in their own way. And as long as you love what you're doing and you're making a meaningful difference that impacts the lives of others, I don't care what package you put it into. It doesn't matter whether you're doing accounting, whether you're driving trains, whether you're making coffees, whatever it is that you do, as long as you love what you do and you're making a difference when you do it, and it is your thing. That's the most important thing. It's what you love. Because when you're in that space of love, when you're in flow, you'll make a difference to all of those people that you come into contact with. Now, there's also, I want to share with you just really quickly, this wonderful lady, Jude. Jude started working with me just over a year ago, and she came along to the workshop as a social media marketer. She came along working with other people with their businesses to do their online marketing. And at the beginning of the workshop, I said to her, what is it that you'd love to really get from these 3 days? And she said, oh, I'd like some clarity on my business, but I'd also really love to be able to talk about my son without bursting into tears. And she proceeded to burst into tears. And she shared with us a story of losing her son some 24 years earlier. He'd unfortunately died of cancer at the age of 4. And she'd never been able to deal with it. She'd never been able to work through it. Like many people, she'd kind of buried it, put on a stiff upper lip and carried on with her life. But as I'm sure you can imagine, losing a child, anyone in your life, but specifically a parent losing a child, is one of the most traumatic things that you can go through. Jude has been on an amazing journey, but in that workshop, in that one weekend, we were able to work through the sadness and the grief that she was feeling around losing her son. Now, obviously, she had some more work to do after that weekend, but she's now stepped into working with other parents who are going through such a traumatic time. And in less than 12 months, she has got herself into being a published author. This is Jude's book, Sadness to Sunshine, specifically written for using EAM to help parents who have gone through or are going through such a traumatic experience to find a way back to feeling that life is worth living again. And she's done an amazing and incredible job. So Jude's been such an inspiration throughout this year, not only to myself, but the rest of the mentors in the team, from going from being a social media marketer to now taking everything she's learned over this journey, and also throughout her own journey of what she went through to work on releasing that emotion. Even before EAM, she's now put it all into this really simple, comprehensive process and journey, and she's now out there sharing it and changing the lives of so many people. So big round of applause to Jude too. Now, I know that I have shared a lot with you today. This is probably one of the most intensive brain and heart heavy videos in the 5 days. But the reason I share it with you is because I want you to see the scope of everything that you can do with EAM. I'm sure as we've talked through, I hope that it's triggered a few aha moments for you. So I just want you to take a moment for yourself and just write these down. What came up for you as I was talking through all of those things? Did it give you a little twinge? Did you get a little ping in your heart? Did you think, actually, yes, I know that there is probably some work for me to do around that area of my life? These are some of the things that you can now use the sway to help you explore as part of the exercise. So just give yourself a minute to jot down any aha moments that came up. I'm just going to have a super quick drink of water. So for me, what I really want you to take away from today is that there is a specific order in which to change your life. If you try and approach things in any other way, yes, you can do it, but it's going to be really hard work. And usually along the way, we are sacrificing something else in order to do that. And usually that thing that we're sacrificing is our happiness, which, as we know, how we're feeling is the thing that influences our lives. If we're giving up the way that we feel, the rest of our life is going to feel like a push, hard work, and we're not going to be manifesting the things that we want. There is a reason that we don't work on money first. I know, I wish everyone probably thinks, oh, just shut up, Yvette, teach me about the money. But there is a reason that I don't do it. And it's because if we start trying to work on money and you've still got all of these other things going on, I know that we're not going to get the results that we would if we work on releasing all of those other areas of your life first before the money starts coming in. Now, this is a really simple way of doing it. Yes, you can start working on your business. That's not to say that you have to park working on your business or you can't start working on manifesting money. All I'm saying is that anything that, if you want to start seeing those really big shifts and big results, there are other steps in the journey for you to take first. That's all that this is all about, so that you don't end up feeling like you're really going round and round and round and round in circles. So the exercise for you today is to use the worksheet. There is a worksheet there for you, which has got all of those 10 areas on. That's the reason we spent so long talking through them today, so that you understand the context of what we are doing and what we're talking about. I want you to sway and see which of these areas are in flow, in resistance, or in reversal. Now that you understand the context for each of them, you can also then ask the sway. So say, for example, you'd say, is my universal connection in flow, in resistance, or in reversal? And you might sway forward, it's in reversal. Okay. So is it something to do with my timeline, with being in the womb? Is it something from a past life? Use the sway to help you get clarity on exactly what that is. It might give you some more ideas and an area that you need to go in and take a look at. Now, I am not expecting you to go and start working through all of those things today. That is not the purpose of this exercise. The purpose of the exercises today is just to sway your way through and create yourself a tick list so that you know which areas are in flow, in resistance, and in reversal. And it means that as you work through the rest of the program or after the rest of the 5 days, you know that you've got a starting point and you know that where to begin with changing your life. That's the purpose of us doing this today. So any questions that you've got around this, please come and ask them in the Facebook group. If you're not sure exactly what it means or if it's telling you there's resistance, just come and ask those questions. That's exactly what we're here to support you with over the 5 days. So please do just let us know. Have fun with this. Really have some fun with this. This is just the beginning. Like I said, this is usually something that takes me 10 months to teach. So if you're feeling a little bit confused, if you've still got questions, I completely understand. It's a vast subject that I've introduced you to a tiny little piece of the puzzle. So enjoy it for now, and I really look forward to seeing what happens for you. If you want to take a picture and show us what happens on your assessment when you've printed it out and share that inside the Facebook group on the thread underneath this video today, then please by all means do that too. It'd be really good to see what's coming up for you and see your ahas. I look forward to seeing you in days 4 and 5. Have fun. I'll see you for now. Take care.